7 a.m. Reiko Kujirai wakes up and puts on her glasses. She cuts and eats watermelon while the TV blares in the background, then sits outside the balcony for a smoke. As she makes her way to work, people listen to the news explain that generic Terra is capable of fucking up the memories of all human beings, making even eternal youth and immortality a reality. Using advanced technology, with a focus on safety, its construction continues today, and its merchandise was flying off of the shelf. T-shirts with the mascot were the most popular. Two men watching spoke of the project being run in the private sector by Hebinuma Pharmaceutical. Reiko stopped to take off her glasses and rub her face because she was in pain. Reaching Wang Loi Realty Company, Reiko entered, and about to clock in, her coworker, Hajime Kudo, put his punch card in first, making her late. During work, as she was handing him the listings, she was cold, so Kudo apologized, offering to buy her lunch. While their supervisor rambled about the lacking comforts of the second Kowloon, Reiko once again took off her glasses and rubbed her face. She took Kudo to the new Hawaiian cafe that had opened up last week. She'd been wanting to try it, but got dragged away by him because he wanted to eat at the usual spot. Reiko was rightfully peeved at this point, despite Kudo explaining how delicious a plump boiled dumpling in golden broth tastes. She then took off her glasses, remarking that her prescription has been off all day. And seeing her using Hebinuma Pharmaceutical eye drops, Kudo began to shout. Since the son recently took over the company, he just felt he couldn't trust them now. The man just seemed so sketchy. Kudo believed all she needed for eye strain was to massage some pressure points. Reiko rejected his offer, knowing he'd just apply pure brute strength. The two discussed rental places they had sold off, and Reiko was surprised at how kind Kudo really was. He would sometimes fix things by himself. He just wanted the tenants to be comfortable. With some remaining time during lunch, Reiko told him they should get some tea. However, Kudo teased, telling her she should go see an optometrist. He was surprisingly attentive to the fact she might have the wrong prescription. He'd get tea with her another time. Coming back to work after seeing an optometrist, her supervisor was surprised to hear her vision was 20/20. Outside, looking up at the generic Terra, Kudo uttered they'd all be punished for building things like that. He was against it. In his eyes, the government was using their tax money to make a fake Earth. Taking a smoke together, Reiko wondered how long that Hawaiian place would stay open. For some reason, new stores closed really quickly here in Kowloon. Kudo replied Kowloon was supposed to be a nostalgic place. A flickering streetlight, a moldy back alley, noisy neighbors. He felt the nostalgia had the same feeling as being in love. The residents loved it here in the nostalgic Kowloon. That's why he believed it didn't need to change. Reiko didn't personally feel the nostalgia in this place, but sometimes she felt it with Kudo. A wind blew. She quickly tried to explain she didn't mean it that way, and now they were face to face. However, he only wanted to tell her she had crow's feet. At work the next day, Reiko reappeared wearing fake glasses. She just couldn't get used to her face without them. Kudo poked at her for hiding her crow's feet, telling her at 32, she should stop fighting the losing battle of aging. She then noticed his dirty cuff, so he explained he just had to touch 8s. When walking around Kowloon, numbers were seen on the walls. He always had to touch them. That was his personal rule. During break, he decided to take Reiko to the avenue for food. He wanted to show her what made Kowloon Kowloon. They ate a variety of dishes. By the time they were done, Reiko was completely worn out, but they still had one last stop, Goldfish Tea House. Inside, the server, Tao Guan, was excited to see Kudo, enjoying their time together, with Kudo laughing over Reiko's silly logic of being able to eat watermelon because it was more like a drink. She felt that bit of nostalgia again. She suddenly brought up that it tasted good to smoke after eating some watermelon, and wondered if she sounded weird. But no, he just remembered there was someone else who said the same thing. He liked little quirks like that. Finding familiar quirks could make you happy, and it helped you remember things. Taking their leave, Tao thanked them for coming, saying he was happy Kudo could bring his girlfriend again. But Reiko assured him that wasn't the case. Making their way, she thought maybe Kudo should have corrected Tao, since it'd be awkward if he ever went back there with his real girlfriend. She then stared up at the generic Terra next to the moon, and Kudo came back with a goldfish, a souvenir for her to keep at her place. The next day, the Kowloon Environment Management Center announced a photochemical smog warning, as well as a heat and high humidity advisory, advising people to refrain from outdoor activities and to be cautious of indoor heat stroke. Well, Reiko was ignoring all of that to paint, and seeing as how she lost balance and accidentally touched the wall, she realized she was in for a long day. Nearly finishing in the evening, she was about to fall over when Hajime suddenly caught her. He was late, but his excuse was that the hero was supposed to arrive late. He didn't know she was doing this, and learned she just wanted the tenant to be comfortable. A second-hand line she learned from someone. Kudo wondered if he was rubbing off on her, but she told him not to get cocky. Watching him paint the last wall, she started thinking about how she was in love with him. The next day at work, she tried to wake him up, and he smiled, suddenly pulling her in for a kiss, but then quickly pushed her off, apologizing, saying she was the wrong person. This left her completely red in the face. She was a little sad that she was hung up over the kiss, and he wasn't. After he clocked out, she noticed his papers were messy and tried to clean it up. She got curious, seeing a photo of him next to his girlfriend. She was curious about this woman who supposedly had the same quirks as her. She went back to the tea house, and pulling out the photo, Tao said that was such a fun day. It was a photo he had taken right here to celebrate her engagement with Kudo, but she didn't understand any of this. Leaving the tea house, she received a sudden call from Xiaohei. Xiaohei's neighbor's been really noisy at night, and she couldn't handle it anymore. So, Reiko decided she'd look into it. Just ringing the doorbell at the neighbor's place, Reiko was suddenly met with a swarm of generic Terra plushies and Yao Mei, apologizing because she was still working on them. Inside, Yao Mei apologized because she still needed to make 50 more. Still feeling down and confused, Reiko brought up the picture of Kudo and his girlfriend. She claimed the girl in the picture wasn't her, confusing Yao Mei. But Reiko knew that she and him were not in that kind of relationship, and had never taken that photo. She also had no memories of it. Not just the day they had taken the photo, she also couldn't remember anything about her past. She didn't notice that until today, and never even thought about it. Kudo had also never said a word. Yao Mei smiled, accepting that the girl in the photo wasn't Reiko. She herself was also a person without a past, just like Reiko. From her head to her toe, she had work done on her entire body. She threw all of her past away. If someone brought up her past, she'd deny it and tell them it wasn't her. She was going to be the one to decide who she was. She brought out egg tarts. It was the first thing she ate after the plastic surgery. She treated it like a birthday cake for her newborn self, and she was happy to give Reiko one. Finding his drawers empty of the photo, Kudo remembered when he had transferred from the Japanese branch to the Kowloon one. Reiko welcomed him. At the time, he was 30 years old and just 2 years younger than her. Touring the town together, she thought Hajime was a good name, since 8 was considered a lucky number here. It sounded similar to Fatchoi, as in, may you be rich. Reiko displayed her skills in Mahjong. She attributed the win on that day to Kudo, with his name sounding lucky and all. They ate at the Tin Tin Eatery, where she told him they'd always have lunch at this place, because there was a rightness to the plump dumplings and golden broth. They drank watermelon juice and smoked on the rooftop together. He asked her about any other hints she had for navigating the Kowloon, and he was surprised to hear her respond, to be in love, I guess. But she was serious. A flickering streetlight, a moldy back alley, noisy neighbors. She described those things made Kowloon feel nostalgic, and that the feeling of nostalgia was the same as being in love. She was in love with Kowloon. The next day, Reiko and Yao Mei had lunch at the Chicken Family restaurant. They munched on the delicious Hong Kong lemon chicken, and Reiko admitted she wanted to know the truth about the photo now. Yao Mei thought there was no reason Reiko couldn't just ask Kudo outright. It's not like she was in love with him. But of course, she was. So, Yao Mei gave her hypothesis. The woman in the photo was Reiko B. The simplest explanation was that Reiko B had amnesia, and that Reiko was in fact the same person. Perhaps Kudo was waiting for her memories to come back. If that was the case, it made sense he didn't want to tell her the truth. Still though, Reiko wanted to know who she was in his eyes. At work, with some leading, Kudo admitted he felt nostalgia being with Reiko too. She had him look at her with glasses off, and he approached, commenting on her lack of piercings and her obvious crow's feet. He then invited her for lunch, but of course, she was going to deny him because of his rude comments. After he left, she put the photo back in its proper place and flicked it. Today, Hebinuma General Medical Center opened to celebrate their participation as advisor on the generic Terra construction project. They were offering free health checkups to all residents. Yao Mei wondered if Dr. Hebinuma was here. He was so popular, it was impossible to book consultations with him. Xiaohei then came by. She was, of course, the girl who had called Reiko about Yao Mei making ghost noises next door. The three did their checkups, and going to their last, Reiko fixated on the anti-aging services. She wanted to get rid of her crow's feet. Leaving Goldfish Tea House, the girls were disappointed to learn Tao had quit working there suddenly. Reiko spotted a jewelry merchant, thinking about how Kudo had commented on her lack of piercings. Yao Mei knew Reiko would be just like Reiko B with piercings on. And so, she brought up the ones most similar to what she had worn in the photo. At work, Kudo was curious if Tao had moved, since he was the one who brokered Tao's apartment. Looking into Tao though, he was hit with 500 internal server error. He had never seen this error before. He was surprised, seeing Reiko enter with earrings on. She explained her earrings weren't pierced. The new earrings were just clip-ons, and that she just wanted to change things up a little. She wasn't expecting Kudo to be frowning though. He walked out, uttering for her to knock it off. At Yao Mei's, she dropped the earring. The look on Kudo's face wasn't the one she was hoping for. Kudo sat in an alley under the rain, while Reiko was trying to figure out who she was, only to decide on boxing away the things that made her like Reiko B. Taking a smoke, Kudo happened to walk in on her. He apologized for yesterday, admitting he felt frustrated and just happened to take it out on her. She at first was going to tell him it wasn't so bad, but decided to pressure him on how deeply hurt she was. So, she wanted him to join her for lemon chicken lunch today. He was fine, instead suggesting they had it for dinner, since they were probably going to get drinks as well. He reluctantly enjoyed the dish, and she was beaming as she proclaimed, "I told you, didn't I?" Outside, with her stepping into a puddle, he suddenly grabbed her hand, telling her to watch where she was going. She wondered if he was mistaking her for someone else again. But no, he told her he was looking at her. Staring up at the sky, he commented on how the generic Terra was shining extra bright. The next day, she and Yao Mei went back to the medical center for anti-aging treatment. She met with Dr. Miyuki Hebinuma, who wanted a close look at her face. He thought her skin's glow and feel were exquisite. He asked her what her family structure was, but she replied she just couldn't remember. She admitted her memories were missing, causing him to smirk after he turned around. He had no comment about her history, except that her wrinkles had none. Wrinkles typically form slowly over the course of daily life, but her wrinkles were different, like they existed from her beginning, mere grooves in the skin. She had wrinkles with no history, and missing memories. It's possible that those memories never existed in the first place. That didn't matter to him though. What mattered was that she existed right now. With his creepy approach, Reiko dragged Yao Mei out, but little did she know, the doctor wasn't done with her. Back in the day, Kudo and Reiko were helping out a resident. On their way out, Kudo nearly collapsed, likely from heat stroke, so she invited him back to her place for a break. He had his reservations, believing he shouldn't really go inside a lady's apartment, but she assured him it was fine. After drinking some water, he took in the look of her room, not a plushie in sight. It was at this point he had been in Kowloon for a week, so Reiko was interested in his thoughts, and he answered he experienced the feeling of nostalgia often. She believed feeling that here was somewhat strange. She hadn't lived anywhere before this place, so nostalgia wasn't just about memories and experiences. Despite that, it gave a feeling of elation, as if you'd known something all along. In her opinion, nostalgia was a feeling of wanting to lock something up in your heart. That's why it was the same as being in love. Present day, their boss was excited to see Dr. Hebinuma. They had brokered the space for the new clinic that just opened. He was hoping to open another new clinic in the area. His look was creepy, sending Reiko chills. The doctor was in no rush to buy, however, and with him staring at Reiko, Kudo got in the way, but was quickly sprayed in the face and sent reeling back. The spray was apparently a new sanitizer developed by Hebinuma Pharmaceutical. The doctor liked to keep things clean. Taking his leave, the doctor suddenly pulled Reiko in close and put his tongue in her mouth? Ugh! And he has the audacity to tell her to choose him instead of the boorish Kudo. His assistant was surprised a germaphobe like him kissed Reiko so suddenly, but he described it as a snake's nature to swallow up what he wanted. The two coworkers hung out together on their day off. With Kudo stepping out to her balcony for a smoke, he reminisced on his time seeing Reiko here doing the same. He walked back in to ask her the name of the goldfish he gave her, and she named it Success. Taking off, Kudo touched the number 8 outside her door, while she wished he'd come back again soon. At work, he wasn't so fond of the flower she put on his desk, but she gave it to him as a thank you for bringing her Success's fish tank. Their conversation was interrupted by Xiaohei, who was looking to move again because she had too much clothes. She needed more space. Having bought them with her hard-earned money, she wasn't going to let go of a single piece of her clothing. Xiaohei then noticed the sunflower and explained in flower language it meant, "I only have eyes for you," causing Reiko to get flushed red. Reiko didn't actually know that, and rushed Xiaohei out to end the embarrassing scene. Xiaohei had now viewed 7 new places at this point, but not a single one clicked for her, so Reiko suggested somewhere outside of Kowloon, like downtown Hong Kong. Reiko knew she worked part-time with limited responsibility, so anywhere should be fine. Then suddenly, she was hit with the memory of Xiaohei saying she didn't want to leave Kowloon. That's how Xiaohei felt back then too, but Xiaohei didn't remember ever saying that. Kudo then gave Reiko a call, letting her know about a good spot on Nam Kang Street. The inside was quite small, but had a lot of storage. Reiko thought it wouldn't have been good. However, Xiaohei was very excited and wanted to buy it immediately. She didn't care about the lack of space, since she was barely home and worked all the time. It had a rooftop as well that she was super stoked about. Reiko felt defeated at this point. Kudo knew that as long as it suited the tenant, even a property with a strange floor plan could be a good one. The rooms Reiko suggested were all good options for anyone but Xiaohei. Basking in the beautiful weather, Xiaohei pointed down below to a field of flowers. Reiko looked at Kudo, then looked down. She remembered the meaning of sunflowers and wondered who Kudo had eyes for. She later went to buy a watermelon juice, but her coin fell and was picked up by a masked man. After some coin tricks, he handed it back to her, but she felt he seemed familiar somehow. Elsewhere, maids were speaking of a recent news article that read, Dr. Hebinuma was the child of a mistress and adopted. The little boy framed in the Hebinuma household was not actually Miyuki Hebinuma, as he had died along with the wife of Hebinuma Sr. The masked man wondered if Miyuki let the article print out on purpose. Hebinuma Sr. was likely taking it hard with people digging up his painful past. Regardless, the masked man gave his report on Reiko, surprised that it was indeed her. Later, Kudo was asking an associate about Tao Gwen's whereabouts. Strange things had been happening. He couldn't ask Tao's neighbors either, because the route to get there was blocked off by a dead end for some reason. But no one else seemed to remember things being any different. As Reiko took a smoke on Xiaohei's roof, she was met by the masked man, who was actually Tao Gwen. She wanted to know more about her past from him, since he'd known her longer than she could remember. However, he responded by saying while he did know her, the Reiko Kutirai he actually knew no longer existed in this world. He thought it was annoying that she even had a beauty mark in the same spot, and felt like a total stranger was trampling on the precious memory of his friend. While leaving, he told Reiko to tell Kudo he'd visit him soon. Reiko left, with only more questions, and now understood if what he said was true, then she and Reiko B were not the same person. Returning to work, she found the sunflower dead, and all Kudo uttered was, Reiko, I hate you. She threw the dead sunflower away. She reflected on living in Reiko's room, putting on Reiko's clothes, and going to Reiko's job. But the past where she was loved by Kudo belonged to that Reiko, not her. While disposing of papers with him on the route, she decided to confront him. She acknowledged she wasn't the Reiko he knew, and all the things she had, even her quirks, belonged to the other Reiko. But some things were hers alone. The fish tank she picked out, her love for lemon chicken, and being in love with him. But he was cold, responding she was wrong, and that just like she believed the life she lived now was hers, he claimed her feelings for him were just an illusion. She passionately disagreed. She didn't believe an illusion would make her eyes follow him, make her ache for his acknowledgement, make her feel choked up, that a simple illusion would make her crave his touch. She began to cough, and suddenly fell over and passed out before him. Oh man. Back in the day, Kudo and Reiko went for drinks for his welcome party celebration. It was 2 months late at that point, and just the two of them, since the branch manager left work right on the dot. Kudo brought up that he heard Kowloon was going to be demolished, but was surprised to learn it was demolished before as well, back in 1994. The official name of the current Kowloon was the second Kowloon Walled City. It was recreated illegally after its removal. Kudo wondered why rebuild. The city was kind of anachronistic, and he frankly believed it would be better if gone. But Reiko answered that deep down, everyone wanted to go back to it. Back to nostalgia. Walking back, Reiko was a little too drunk. Her bra strap fell over, and Kudo looked away while warning her, because he was embarrassed. However, he wasn't expecting her to pull him in for a kiss. She reminded him that she had told him before he was the type to be well loved by his elders. He blushed, looking away again, but their passion wasn't done for the night. In the present, Reiko woke up, shocked to find herself at his place. He offered to tell her about the Reiko Kujirai of the past, but with the sinking feeling in her heart, she refused his offer. Walking about the town in disguises, Tao warned the doctor not to go into town alone, or else he might bump into Tao's second version. Since the fake Reiko was in love with Kudo, the fake Tao might try to hit on the doctor too. However, the doctor's curiosity was piqued. He'd love to find out if the second version of Tao would be interested in him as well. They investigated the Goldfish Tea House, where Tao noted in the original Kowloon, he made a shelter so that stray cats could get out of the rain. However, there wasn't even a trace of it here. This Kowloon wasn't the Kowloon he knew. There were other things that felt off. Then, with Tao pointing out Reiko's beauty mark being identical, the doctor was alerted. He knew moles weren't duplicated in a clone. Same appearance, same voice, yet no memories. Was it possible she wasn't a clone? Yao Mei was overjoyed with her new job working as a seamstress, thanks to a recommendation from Xiao Hei. There was no quota and they paid overtime as well. Reiko broke the joyful mood, bringing up that Reiko B seemed to have already passed away. But regardless, Reiko was determined to become her absolute self. She didn't want to be a memory of Reiko B. She wanted to be her own person. Of course though, Yao Mei was still curious about how this Reiko came to be. Reiko remembered the doctor telling her that her wrinkles looked like they were there from the beginning. She couldn't remember when she started living here as well, but she knew where everything was. It was as if she'd been created to match the life of Reiko B. Yao Mei then mentioned this creepy post she saw online about clone research going on with the Gen Terra project. The post was deleted, but she wondered if that had something to do with Reiko. And they didn't call it a clone, but instead a zirconian, perhaps after a zirconia. Like the artificial gem, Yao Mei wore some. Reiko didn't care if she was a fake from the beginning. She just wanted to be her own thing now. Yao Mei then showed her earring. While zirconia might be fake, it looked like a diamond, and she still felt it was pretty. She felt an affinity towards it, maybe because she herself was a result of plastic surgery. It encouraged her that even a fake could sparkle so brightly. During lunch break at work, Kudo overheard the two girls talking about a party they were throwing at Xiaohei's rooftop. He wondered why he was hiding from them though, and was surprised to hear Yao Mei suggest Reiko move out of her apartment, throw all the stuff away, and buy everything new. But Reiko kinda wanted to keep everything the same for Reiko B. She knew Reiko B didn't exist anymore and felt the room was like a fragment of her. If it went away, she felt like Reiko B's presence itself would be completely erased from the world. The idea of that scared her. Later, Reiko invited Kudo to the party. However, he declined, but still gave a contribution towards it, making Reiko so happy she bolted off. Then, she turned back at the door, touching it, and Kudo reached for it as well, with nothing but silence, longing, and the memory of the Reiko he knew. He ended up going anyway though, because Xiaohei forced him to come. They had a fun time, with Yao Mei giving him a plate of more lemons than chicken. She then brought up a floor plan of a new place Reiko could move to, really pushing it and asking for Kudo's approval. But Reiko didn't hate her current room and didn't want to move out. After the party was over, everyone cleaned up. Reiko then brought up that time Dr. Hebinuma came to their office, asking for another plot of land for a second clinic, prompting Kudo to bring up the kiss, and he went for his own, but instead, just breathed smoke on her. Sometime later, taking a walk together, he asked Reiko about what she knew in regards to the original Reiko. She explained Tao had told her she no longer existed in this world. Kudo then broke out in laughter, admitting he was the one who killed her. He wondered what she would say if he told her that, but just laughing it off, he at least confirmed the real Reiko no longer existed in this world. After hearing this, Yao Mei definitely suspected Kudo killed her, saying as his fiancée, love and hate were two sides of a coin. Kowloon was filled with people who held secrets, and Kudo's mentioning felt like a culprit returning to the scene of a crime. Reiko didn't think that was the case though, especially since he looked so sad. She'd never seen that look on his face before. She wondered if she's the only one who's seen him that way. She knows it's not something she should be happy about, but she was. She wanted to know things about him no one else knew, not even Reiko B, even things that were terrible. One morning, she noticed the books she had never read. They were all about Japanese mysteries. She read the lines, "If I can lock up this moment forever, I'm sure I'll sleep soundly this time." With such a horrible thought in mind, I closed in on her step by step. Imagined getting choked? She got jump scared by a text. She then went back to her shelf, finding a diamond ring in the place she took the book from. At work the next day, both she and Kudo had dark circles under their eyes. The two hadn't been sleeping well lately, and with Reiko bringing up her late night reading, she asked Kudo if he knew any stores that carried Japanese books. The series she was reading was 2 volumes, but she only had the first one and she had finished it. She really wanted to know what happened next. He knew a place, but about to take her, Yao Mei tagged along. asking if he had a problem with that. Making it there, they were surprised to find Xiaohei working there too. Reiko found her book, but wondered if it was a misprint, since it was filled with question marks, A's, B's, and slashes. Regardless, since she was here, she decided to get a book that contained photos of places all around the world. Kudo wasn't a fan of it, because the Reiko he knew was only interested in Kowloon, nowhere else. Over drinks, Yaomei commented on Reiko's kindness towards Reiko B, despite the fact that they were technically love rivals. Can you be love rivals with your own clone? Reiko just wanted to know what kind of person she was. With Tao seeing Miyuki off for work, the maids commented on how the doctor's facial expressions have become softer these days. He was a lot friendlier to them, even. On the talk show, Quest for Beauty, Dr. Miyuki Hebinuma was the featured guest for the day. Today's patient was a woman who naturally gave off cold impressions due to her facial features, so she wanted them softened. The doctor's answer? Giving her double eyelids and downturned eyes, and rounding out her square jawline. The woman then asked if he could fix her turned down corners of her mouth as well, so the doctor said something that made her smile, then followed it by saying her heart worked more wonders than plastic surgery, calling her smile just now truly wonderful. The guest beside him, Sean, claimed a smile could only fix your problems if your face was good to begin with. He called the doctor's words merely platitudes, saying Miyuki was blessed from birth and inherited his father's company. Ooh, a spicy drama on daytime television. The doctor kicked Sean's chair over, then explained being given things wasn't the same as being blessed, because some things you're given could lead to other things being taken away. They cut quickly to commercial break, leading Tao to wonder if Miyuki had really become any friendlier. Yaomei felt like she kind of understood what the doctor meant though. For example, living the life someone prepared for you meant you'd be giving up the life you could have had otherwise. Reiko could clearly tell Yaomei was talking about her and Reiko B. The gang was suddenly given pamphlets for a showing of The Butterfly Dream, an old film, but seeing it, Yaomei became disheartened, not wanting to go. Reiko watched it alone, and hanging with Yaomei, she brought up how beautiful the main actress was. Yaomei started crashing out, trying to turn things back to the mystery of Reiko B. She then ran off, reflecting on the past. She was always compared to her mother, Yang Li, the star of the movie, where many people awed at the two's beautifully similar looks. Yaomei felt like she had completely lost her sense of self, and that's why she decided she needed plastic surgery. Reiko didn't quite know what was wrong with Yaomei. She only knew the present, and didn't know how it felt to suffer from or long for the past. She wondered what she could do to help her friend. With advice from Kudo, she decided to visit Yaomei with some egg tarts. But with Yaomei seeing the shadow of herself, she didn't want to see anyone right now. Reiko had to remind her the Yaomei she knew was lively, confident, and proud. But Yaomei retorted that wasn't who she was. She felt unconfident and was always worried about her parents' moods. She called herself a coward who couldn't even say what she liked. But then, Reiko reminded Yaomei of the talk she gave about living as her absolute self. She had said she saw genuine sparkles in the fake gems. This caused Yaomei to run out of her room and jump on Mei in tears. She was going to try her best to keep living as her absolute self. Back in the day, Kudo and Reiko enjoyed their time at the Goldfish Tea House. When he had first heard he was being transferred to Kowloon, he cursed his luck. But now that he was here, he noted the food was great, and he didn't mind the unorganized air of the city. He then woke up to an intense sweat, agonizing in pain as an earthquake hit, all while Tao arrived at Kowloon to visit, finding the city once there completely destroyed. Mystery after mystery. Where's the Kowloon everyone else is at then? Subscribe to keep up with new parts, but for now, watch this next video. It's me, ComfyTea. I'll see you all in the next one.